After a long day of work, you know the first thing I love doing when I get home? Gaming. And some of my favorite are the ones with cozy vibes. The ones that feel like a warm hug, hot cocoa on a cold day, alone time with Uncle Pete, chicken soup when you're sick, you know, all the things we love. That's where Tiny Glade comes in, as being one of the coziest games I've played recently. Welcome to Totally Relevant Reviews, and today I'll be talking about Tiny Glade, the cozy castle game. Developed by the Stockholm-based Townscaper, a duo of Anastasia Opera and Tom Stokowiak, Tiny Glade is a stress-free game where you could just kick back and build. No management, no resource gathering, no combat, just building castles. Announced in 2022, Tiny Glade is their debut game and has grown a lot of hype, reaching 1 million Steam wishlists and blowing up on social media. Tiny Glade started as a simple procedural wall generator because Anastasia wanted to learn more about rendering. As she posted about it, it got a lot of positive feedback, and from there, they decided to make a full game. Even though Anastasia and Tom didn't set out to make the coziest game possible with Tiny Glade, they definitely wanted the player to feel warmth and happiness when experiencing their game. The cozy feeling Anastasia got from playing games like Townscaper, Unpacking, and A Little to the Left is what inspired her to go with this direction. You can definitely see some similarities between Tiny Glade and Townscaper, where both have limited tools but still give the player the ability to flex their creativity. At first glance, it's very simple with a few options of what you can build in the world. To build a wall, you simply select the wall tool and click and drag to build where you want. And the other options are just as simple. In the demo, you're given the option to build paths, walls, towers, and buildings, and you could also mess with the terrain's elevation or place flowers on the ground, or lights to add a little flavor to the world. It's truly not complex at all, but using combinations is how you could be creative and find cool workarounds to the limited tools. Honestly, it feels unfair to say limited tools when there are so many cool interactions with all of them. For example, if you want to build a building with a bridge, attaching it to another building, there are ways to do that. I'm not the most creative type, but seeing some people's builds online have been insane. The small choice of tools helps give the game a low barrier of entry, but a high ceiling of creativity. If you just want to make a simple little house with a path leading up to it, you could easily do that. And if you want to make an incredible cathedral with intricate shapes, you could do that too. It's truly incredible how much you could do in this game. Not only is it impressive with how much you could do with so little, but it's also amazing how the game goes across actually generating your buildings in the world. The game uses procedural generation to make all the buildings, and it's quite impressive. Seeing how the blocks follow my controls and generate a seamless way that gives the impression that each build is handmade is just awesome, and it scratches a wonderful itch in my brain. The procedural generation is what gives this game a step above other building games. The way the buildings interact with each other is very unique. It's a very smart system that is the foundation of this game. The Townscaper duo has described Tiny Glade as a doodling castle building game, and the core of that is the procedural generation of the building. It creates a very satisfying experience and simplifies building while still allowing the player to create intricate designs. The game's procedural generation also works when destroying buildings. Destroying buildings actually makes the building look like it naturally got ruined over time. It gives you the ability to create interesting ruins after you spend time creating a building. The generative building also applies when redoing or undoing a certain move you did. When you undo or redo, it has the same animation as if you built it for the first time. The whole system they use is very impressive, and like I said earlier, creates a satisfying experience in all aspects of building. What is also crucial to the satisfying experience is the sound design of the game. I don't know how else to describe it other than just satisfying. Create a wall and you hear individual bricks being placed. When you place a window, a nice little sound is heard, and it all just helps give the game a cozy energy. It's clear they wanted to make a very cozy game, and the sandbox element really helps that. As the player, you don't have to reach a certain objective or follow a story. There is no story, there are no objectives. The only goal is to have fun and be creative, and this openness entices the players to make their own story. I found myself building a cool castle that I created a story for it, and then I destroyed the castle in a certain way, and it continued the story in a new direction. Tiny Glade invites the players to make a story for their creation, and it adds another dimension to the game. If the game was on guardrails, it would take away from what makes it special, and there is a lot of what makes Tiny Glade special. Its warmth and charm rely on the complete sandbox, and this game would not exist without it being a complete sandbox. Through Tiny Glade, you can create stories for simple creations, and it's fun. But I want to talk about some things I don't like about this game. And honestly, the only thing is that it's not out yet. I just want the full release. Fortunately enough, it's coming out very soon. September 23rd is when it's scheduled to come out, and I'm pretty excited. With the release, a few more customizing options will be available, like different materials for buildings and different environment choices. It also opens up more space for you to build. This game is just great. It's a creative idea, well made, and is a carefully crafted experience that clearly conveys the comfy vibes that the creators wanted. I couldn't recommend it more if you just want to relax and unwind. And I'm so excited to see what else they eventually add to this game. Even now, there's so many possibilities with the small choices in building, so even if they only add a few small things, I'll be excited. When you combine the building, the style, the sound design, the easy controls, and every other design decision, you get a warm and comforting experience. And when you look at the goal of Pouncelight when making this game, they definitely succeeded. I highly recommend Tiny Glade, so you should do yourself a favor and check it out. The creators clearly love this project and are working towards making this the best cozy gaming experience around. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing, commenting, and liking. Don't consider it, do it. Comment, like, subscribe right now.